Hello, everyone. Welcome back, or welcome if this is the first of the series of webinars that you've attended. So thank you for joining us. I'm Simon Walker from Red Giant and Maxon, and we have Lionel Vici. I've been saying Vicidomini, but should it be Vicidomini?
Yeah, it's more like Vicidomini.
Vici, yes. It's more
but
less Italian, more French.
It sounds nice in Vicidomini. But I'm fine with it.
Okay, so I've mispronounced both of your names for a long time, so I'm sorry about that.
Don't worry, I'm used to
it. I bet, yes. So we're just getting set up, ready to go. Would you mind, if you can see the screen that I'm sharing, and also if you can hear us, would you mind just putting a little comment in the text window, just so that we know everything's working and we don't have to fix anything? And oh, thanks, Brad. Brilliant, excellent. Just to introduce you to the interface, you can ask questions as we go through, and also there's a little box right at the bottom of the interface which has a handouts button on it. And in that handout button is this document, this PDF. And this has links to all the webinars we've run this week. And these registration links also act as links to the recording. So after the event, if you haven't been able to see any one of these, you can go to that link, and then that means that it'll come up with a sign saying as if you were going to register for the webinar, but if you just click it, then it will go to the recording. So there's a chance to catch up and view that. Thanks, Jonas. That's brilliant. Also, another thing I must mention is that Jonas and Darren have been hanging out on these webinars, looking after the questions as we go through. So that's really great. Thank you again, guys, for doing that. And so if anyone has questions for Lionel as we're going through, please type them in and we'll answer them as we go along, and there'll be a point for Q&A at the end. And also, here's another thing about this document. If you've got any follow-up questions, please let me know, because these sessions are typical of the sort of things that we've been doing for our volume customers. And that's any team who have got a number of licenses of either Red Giant or Maxon tools. So if you'd like one of these custom sessions, and they're complementary with the licenses, let us know and we can customize them to suit your workflows as well. But that's why we invited you to this, because this is just to give you a flavor of the sorts of things that we're working on. Plus, if you are at home and you're working at home and you don't have access to the work licenses, let us know, because we've got mechanisms to be able to allow you to work and share those licenses at home, because I know lots of you are working at home at the moment. So if you do need anything like that, let me know, simon@redgiant.com. Great, thank you. And I think I've done all my admin for this, but I'd just like to introduce you to Lionel, who is an amazingly talented After Effects and Cinema and Trapcode artist. And he's been sharing us the wonderful techniques this week. And even just as by casual reference as we're going through, he says, oh, by the way, here's something to delete all keyframes, or here's something else. And so I've been making notes as we've been going along, just lots of small details as well as the things he's prepared. So these are well worth the watch. And somebody said yesterday, it's worth viewing the recording again at a quarter speed, so, which is because it's so dense with topics. But anyway, thank you again, Lionel, for all the stuff that you've done this week. We really appreciate it. So let's hand over to you. Let me change my presenter to you. Here we go. And I should then set my, you should be able to then have control of the screen. There we go.
So does it work?
And yes, I can see your screen. Fantastic. Great. And I'll hide my webcam for a bit. Over to you.
Okay. So welcome everyone, and welcome back for those who have followed me for the last days, the last few days. So today we're going to work mainly on After Effects, but we're going to use Cinema 4D too. We're going to create that clip. So I'm going to show you. I think you don't have a very smooth playback, but you can get the idea. That's a guy running in a very, very colorful background, some kind of Tron or I don't know inspiration. And so it's entered done in After Effects. There is no pre-rendered 3D because it's been done with Red Giant product with particular, with form, with several Regent Universe plugin for the background, and Element 3D for the main guy we can see running. So what's interesting about this workflow is we can very quickly iterate, change settings, and so on. And we still have the ability to import, to create our model in Cinema 4D and to import it inside After Effects. So that's a very interesting workflow. So where do the guy come from? So he's here, as you can see, it's a E3D compound. So here it is. And where does it come from? It comes from Mixamo. So we're going to go to the Mixamo website and we're going to import then that character inside Cinema 4D. And I think I have the time to show you a few tricks on how to combine movie clips inside Cinema 4D. And then we jump to After Effects. So Mixamo website is this one. And as you can see, it's an Adobe project. So if you have Creative Cloud membership, you have access to it. I think you have I remember someone told me that you can have access to Mixamo even though you are not, you don't have the paid account, just need an Adobe account. Maybe something to verify. I'm not 100% sure about that. So the Mixamo website is almost an application, a software on its own, because you can use a character. You can actually import your own character, rig them, skin them, and then animate them. So let's go to the character menu. And we can see I have already here my main guy. So where did I find it? I found it inside there. So we have 2 pages, 3 pages of different character, different style, and so on. So that's already very interesting because there are whole flavor of them. You see cartoon character, role-playing character, and mannequin, and so on. So it's very wide. You have a guy which is in the news. So, and I think my runner is here. It's the racer here. But you can import actually any character you want. You just here upload your character. So you're going to import a character you've done in Cinema 4D or you found on any website. You're going to import it and you'll be able to rig it and then to skin it. It's amazingly fast and easy to do. Really, because rigging and skinning a character, it's a big piece of work. It's difficult. It's going to take time. And with Mixamo, you can do it in a matter of minutes. The first time I tried it, I was really blown away. So it was so easy. I couldn't believe it. It works like magic. So here I'm going to use this character because it looks pretty nice. And we'll see how to load animation on it. So it's already animated. Once you have your character, you're going to go to the animation section. And in the animation section, you have a lot of different movie clips. You just have to click on it to have your character, your character playing the clip. And you have all different kind of clips. So there are, I think, yeah, 52 pages. So I don't know how many animation. It's going to be a few hundred, obviously. And if I'm going to type like walk, I will have a lot of different walking. And for most of the clips, you will have the option to get it in place. So it's walking on place, which is very interesting for what we're going to do next. And we have many flavor of walking. And even though for some animation, or some thumbnails, you have like here a zombie or a woman or soldier, it can be applied to whatever character you import. So here is the zombie walk. It's very funny to look at and to change. And for many of the of the clips, you have also some options to alter the posture here, the reach. That's a greedy sometimes. And so on and so on. Okay, so I'm not going to use that. That would be funny, but not really a good idea. And we'll be using a running clip, obviously. So I'm typing running, and I have a whole bunch of running animation. You have running with the crate. He's running with something in his arm. It could be a tire because he's a racer. You can have running and crawling at the same time, and all different kind of running. So maybe this one in place, and we'll see the options here. We have the style, and you see that's interesting too because it's doing something else. The speed, it's more like a gentle jogging. Here is like more sprinting, and the overdrive is the energy. So if I put the overdrive very fast and the speed very fast, this is flash. So maybe we're going to calm it down. Yeah, it's maybe too calm. So that's already really nice because you can really change the running type of your character, and it's so smooth. It's really incredible. And trust me, you option character a fat. You have maybe like that. So, all right. And now to use it, it's very, very easy. I'm going to download. So usually it's very fast. I think the internet is on strain now. Yes, here it is. And because I've saved it several times already, I'm going to create an export for. Okay, so that's my running character. So I will be mainly using this clip because it's a looping clip, as you can see. That's another great feature of Mixamo. Most of the clips are looping, so you can extend them. You can play them forever. They are perfect loop. You see, it's seamless. I'm sure you didn't see that it's only 25 frames. So it looks like it's running all the time. But I'm going to do different session to import another clip, and we'll see how to mix them together. So maybe we're going to take him at an idle position. And so this is idle, and this one is nice. This one too, maybe is more static. And we have others, maybe this one. So you see, you have many flavor of someone waiting. It can be sleeping or whatever. We have 11 pages of that kind of pose. So maybe we use this one. Why not? Okay, so I'm going to download it. So because I want to mix different clips this time, I don't want the skin. The skin actually is the character, the mesh character. So without skin, that's the only difference. I'll make sure that I have the same frame per second. So as you can see, we have other options. Unfortunately, we don't have 25 frames per second, but it's very easy to interpolate from 30 or 60. So we'll keep at 30 frames per second without skin. Download. should be faster. And try this. We're going to, yeah, in the same folder. Okay, so let's jump to go to Cinema 4D. So I'm using Cinema 4D 21, and I think it works very well with R20 and maybe R19 on something to check. I'm going to import our clip. So in Cinema 4D, something I was very surprised the first time I used Cinema 4D, because I learned actually 2D on 2ds Max, and I suffered a lot from it. And when I switched to Cinema 4D, I was very surprised to see there is no import button. You don't need an import button because you're just going to open your project. This is the import button. So open project, and we're going to catch in export for our running guy. So you see, this is 51 megabytes compared to 600 kilobytes for the idle. So let's take the running. All by default. And here is our character. If I hit play, it's going to play exactly like in Mixamo. We have the texture, everything. What you can see here are the joints. So this is what actually drive the animation. Okay, this is the rig. And those are keyframes. So you have keyframes everywhere. If I take anything, you see a lot of keyframes everywhere. And it's driving this modifier, which is the skin modifier. So if I disable the skin modifier, we have our character standing in the T pose. So everything is done on the rigs here and animated through the skin modifier. Okay, so I will be using this clip later. So maybe I'm going to open it again now. And I'm going to show you how to mix different clips together. So because many people use already Mixamo, but they don't know how to manage the animation. Many think you just have to stay with the clip you have. And if you want the character to do something else, well, you can't. Of course you can. You can do whatever you want, as you will see, as long as you're using movie clips. So we'll say about that. I'm going to keep this file running like that. I'm going to open again the same character. So you want to open the same name and title? Yes. Okay, so I'll be able to jump back to this one. And I'm even going to save it with another name, because now I know this one is the one I'm going to show you, and this one will be the one I will be exporting. So how to mix different clips to the rig. So the bones, the joints. I take the uppermost bones, so the hips, only that, and I'll go to the animate menu. And animate menu, you have here, add motion clips. I'm just going to click there. It's going to create a motion clips from the whole hierarchy. Yes, hierarchy. So here I'm going to name here the movie clip running. Okay, and I need the position and rotation. Actually, I don't even need parameter or whatever, but we don't really care because it's not going to create useless keyframes. It's going to record only the keyframes it needs. So position and rotation are good. I think we need only rotation for this one. Maybe. So position and rotation, I'm going to click on OK. We don't see any change, but you have this icon that appeared. Okay, so everything is contained inside this. So let's switch to the animate layout, and now we're going to the never used motion clip motion mode. Here in the motion mode, we can see we have a running. This is a running clip. So now, if I extend my animation timeline to 125. I'm going to do the same thing here. When I'm at the end of the animation, the character freeze. Okay. Now, if I take the movie clip, I can offset it, make it start this way here. I can slow it and look how smooth is the animation. I'm just extending, so this is the same movie clip. It's like in motion, in slow motion. And this is here, actually the end and start I'm altering. So let's go back to 100%. And I can just loop it. So I'm going to take loop, 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 and now he's looping. Okay, that's already very interesting. But now let's see how we can make it run. So I want to have him idle at the start, and then he's going to run. He'll transition from the idle position to the running position. So how do I do that? I'm going to open the second clip I exported. So the idle ABX. We have our character without the skin. So that's the bare bones of the guy standing, okay? And it's looping perfectly. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. Here I'm going to take the whole hierarchy, go to animate, add motion clip. This time it will be idle. Okay. As you can see, it transforms into a motion clip. And this motion clip here is stored there. This is the motion clip. I'm going now to right click and save motion source as. Okay, so I'm converting this animation, this keyframe, to a motion source, which is this thing you can see here. And we'll go to the export 4 where I'm working, and I'm going to name this file idle. Okay. Now let's go back to the running 2. And you can see here we have our running motion clip. I'm just going to right click there and load motion source. And I'm going to take the idle motion source. Here it is. And now I'm just going to move that, take this one, put it there. For some reason I can't do. I should be able to put the idle this way and the running the other way. I'm surprised I can't do it. Maybe something I never tried. I'm a bit surprised about that. And if I just erase, so he's idle. And now if I take the running and put it there, it works. Okay, so it was easy. So you see, it's easy. You just have to, it's like you're on Premiere or in any editing software and you have your movie clip and you just put them on the timeline. It's as easy as that. And now I'm going to extend to 200 frames. So you see our character is doing his thing here. And then he's running. If I want to transition from one to the other, I just need to take the running. I'm just going to add a few loops and I just transition this way. You see here, this is the transition. So he's idle and then in transition to running. Okay, that's as simple as that. So I'm just going to hide the ghost. The ghosts are the indication, the thing here. And we hide also the joint. And now I can show you. He's waiting. ready to start, and start. Okay, that's as easy as that. And now I can go back to Mixamo. I can go back to Mixamo and load as many movie clips I want. Just download them as a skeleton, import them, convert them to motion source. I just add the motion source here, and I do my editing. And Mixamo is meant to be used this way because you have many movie clips that just transition from one state to the other. You have to look for them, but you can have a different movie clip that transition from going left, going right, stopping, and so on and so on. And this is still only one character driven by the skeleton here, the joints. Okay, so if we wanted to use this movie clip here, we just have to export that character here. Okay, so that's a neat trick I wanted to show you. I won't be using that clip because actually I like the running loop and it'll be easier to work with After Effects, but you can do it. The second trick I'm going to show you to export the OBJ sequence is going to work very well with the whole movie clip like that. And there are many, many more features inside the motion mode system. So it's very interesting to take a look at. Okay, so let's go back to our running, the simple running without movie clip. And now I want to export that as an OBJ. So one thing to note in Cinema 4D for now, you can't export a motion sequence. So OBJ sequence file with the native software without anything. So you have to use a plugin. I'm using the Robite OBJ sequence exporter, which is free. So you can download it for free. And it's going to enable us to export that mesh here. So I just take here the mesh. I'll go to export and I have this option because I have this plugin. I'm sure Simon will put it in the link, or Jonas or Darren. So the OBJ sequence exporter, I'm going to choose here export yes, and we'll call running sequence, and there running sequence. And it's working. So it's exporting every frame, 25 of them, to an OBJ file. So it's going pretty fast. Here we are. Okay, so now let's jump to After Effects. And I'm going to create a new, I'm going to keep that project if anything happens. And we're going to create a new comp and use it. So there will be the new comp. That's creative naming. New comp. And I'm going to create a new solid layer, and that will be element 3D. So element 3D by Video Copilot. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's a very, very nice plugin. It's a paid plugin. You have to buy it, but it's amazingly good. And it brings 3D inside After Effects. So in the scene setup, I'm going to import our mesh. I'm not going to import it from there, but from the file import 3D sequence. Okay. I'll go to my export 4, running sequence, and here we are. And I'm going to import the whole file. So the 25 file. Oh, yes. In Element 3D, you don't need to import all the files. I'm confusing with the particular and Trapcode, as you will see. So I just take any file, open with the material, and here is our guy. Okay, it's animated. We won't see it inside the scene setup, but it is animated, as you can see here. Okay, it has a single material, but there are few things missing from it. So it's no problem. I'm going to get my files. So I'm looking on another screen to get the files. Here we are. Okay, so that was with the export of the FBX. You see this one, and we have our different files. So this is the diffuse already loaded, but I need also the glossiness in the glossiness, normal in the normal, and the specular is going to go to the reflectivity. Okay, so now I need to do a few other things. On my character, I need to put the glossiness to 100 and reflectivity to 102. Okay, so actually those values are driven by this texture, but I need it's a mix, so I need to put them at that size, that amount to have something correct. And now, as you can see, I have some reflection on the helmet on the guy. I'm just going to do a last thing. I want to decrease the normal bump, which is a bit too strong. Okay, so that's it for the 3D element part. I hit OK. And now we have our guy. I'm going to create a new camera, 35mm. And as you can see, this is 3D. So I can move around the character. It's working. And now if I hit play, he's running exactly like what we wanted. And after a few frames, it's going to go much faster because the loop is loaded. So you see the same character running. Okay, so that will be our model. I want to make a few changes with Element 3D to have a nicer look. We could spend a lot of time on Element 3D to tweak a few things, but I'll go fast. So in the render settings, I'm going to use the lighting. I just add one of the preset lighting, and let's use the dramatic lighting, or maybe the cinema. You can see we have different style. You can even rotate it if you want. Or maybe I'll rotate it this way a little bit. Okay, so that will be all for Element 3D. And now I want to add some elements with form and particular to make it look like more sci-fi or HUD or something like that. So let's go. I'll create a new solid again, and this one will be form. I'll switch to the add mode right away, and now I'll add form. It's loading. Here it is. Okay, so form is a Regen plugin. Very interesting plugin, very complex, difficult to master, but to achieve some nice result. So I'm going to use the designer. So actually the designer is something very interesting to work with because it's going to be faster and easier than inside After Effects. At some point, I'll have to stick to After Effects, but with the designer, I can design my effect more easily. So let's go to the designer and maximize the window. Okay, so I have here, you see a simple box, 3 layers of particles. I don't want that. I want to have my character. So I'm going to import it and to use it. Base form type, here in the type, I'm going to use the OBJ model. Now I'm going to choose OBJ. And with form, you have several objects preloaded. You have a city, cone, helix array, several objects you can use without opening Cinema 4D and exporting anything. Okay, so they are all interesting, but I would like to have my own sequence, my own object. So I'll click on Add New Object, and I'll go to my Export for running sequence, and here I'm going to import all the file. Okay, click on Open, it's going to load it. And here it is. And actually, it will be stored on the bottom. So I have several of them because I already did that. So this is this one running. I'm going to apply, and here it is. It's very slow because there are a lot of particles. It's going to create one particle for each vertex of the model. So we change from edges to vertices. Particle density, let's drop it down to 5%. Okay, and now if I hit play, it's going to be faster. And it needs some time to load the sequence inside the memory. So now I have my character, it's running. Okay, so that's a good start. Let's apply and go back to After Effects. And we see something a bit upsetting. It doesn't match with Element 3D. Okay, so that's easy to fix. You just need to go to Form, and in the base form, OBJ settings, something you have also in the designer. In the OBJ settings, you'll have a switch here, Invert Z. So we're going to click on that. And now it's fixed. He's still too big, so you have to eyeball it to make it at the same size. I couldn't find any simpler way to do that. You really have to eyeball it, which can be difficult for some model. So I change the size, and I'll try to match. Yeah, I know.
Just while
actually
you're
it's
doing that,
100.
Lionel, I just got
Yeah.
another tip that I thought it would be useful to mention at this point about the invert Z section. That as many people know, that when you export an OBJ from lots of different 3D apps, sometimes that's automatically selected to invert it. So that's why that checkbox is there. And as you told me earlier on, I think Element also has that capability. So this is also inside particular as well as form. But just whilst you're thinking about importing OBJ and OBJ sequences into Trapcode, one small thing that was quite useful with a studio we were working with was that they found that the object was too dense. It was too complicated for that to be imported. And they were using Maya, and it was actually inheriting all the history of that file as well. They were exporting the history data as well as the actual vertex data. So we found a quick routine for this was to open it in Cinema and save it, and that restrict it all its history data. So if you find that you've got a file that's too big, then that's one thing to look at. I think in Maya you can restrict it to not export the history, but just to give you a practical real-world example, there are methods to be able to reduce the size of it.
Yeah, that's the curse of 2D software, because they each have their own rules. So some it's the y-axis that's inverted. Sometimes the z-axis. It's you have to know those tricks. And for the OBJ, yeah, the invert z is very common. Actually, you can even do it inside Cinema 4D. But you're better off to use the normal export, because most of the time it will match. I just found out that between Element 3D and Form and Particular, you just have to switch that checkbox to have the good size. So now we have our running guy, and it's matching. If I'm going to do a pre-render, you see it sticks on the character. Okay, and so what's interesting with form is that it's not element 3D, so it's not a real 3D renderer. It's a kind of particle renderer. It's going to draw points, particle, for each vertices. So that's interesting to add design element on your character. So now I've done that, and to save it again, and go back to designer, and now alter the look of the particle. So you see it's much faster here. And I can do a lot of stuff. I can, for example, decrease again the number of particle density. Let's go to the 1%. So you see, invert Z, it's there. And now I can go, for example, in the particle type. And no particle type, the size rotation first. And in the size rotation, you can change the size and also make a size random. So you see it's nicer because it breaks the pattern. It's not so uniform. And you could also map the size over some direction. And you could even be able to drive everything by music. You have some audio layer you can use with Form. Form is by far one of the most complex plugin in After Effects. It takes time to master it, but you can do really amazing stuff with it. So I won't use it here because I think it's complicated enough, but something interesting to note. Okay, so it has points, so that's nice, but I would like to try something else. So let's go to the particle type. And here, yes, but well, if I change the blocks here, or I go to the type of sphere, so maybe I'll do that. I'm going to use a sprite, and the sprite, I can use a sprite. So it disappeared because I need to show a sprite. So let's go to true sprite, and we have a library of all different flavor of sprite. So those are texture, HUD texture, I would say. And you can have also some 3D representation of object. So those are not 3D object, those are sprite. A sprite is a plane facing you. So it's actually a movie clip, but you can have a movie clip of a 3D object. And thus you create the illusion of a 3D object. It's just a trick of the eye. So I have all that, and maybe I'm going to use one, what could I use? Maybe this one, target, to create like motion tracker target. So the target, well, here, I'm going to select it, and here it is. So go back to the size rotation. I'm going to increase the size, and you see it has motion tracker on him. So there are far too many of them. So let's go back to the type, and I'll decrease particle density to something very low, maybe 0.3 or 0.15. Okay, that's interesting because we don't have so many particles. And I'll decrease the size a little bit, maybe to 8, yes. And the size random to 75. All right, so that's it. And I can apply that and look at the result inside C4D. After Effects, sorry. You can see it sticks on him like he had some motion tracker. Okay, so that's a good start. I would like to add more design on that. So let's go back to the designer. And I'm going to add another form. So something very interesting with form is you can use several forms inside one layer. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take the master form and duplicate form. So I have another form that does exactly the same thing. But this time, I'm going to use here on the type different repetition of our object. And maybe we're going to use the faces. increase the count because in with faces you need more of that. Okay, so those are our sprites, and I'm going to change the sprite. So let's go to particle type, and let's change the sprite with something else. And the sprite can be anything you want. So it can be a movie clip on your computer. It can be a composition inside After Effects. It's really anything you want. This is just a library, a suggestion. You can use something else. As you can see, you can add a new sprite or even use a composition inside After Effects. So let's go take the pyramid wireframe, which I like. I'm going to OK, and here it is on the character. Okay, so for this one, I'll increase the size. Let's go back to 15. Size random, maybe 85. And you have here an option, random rotation. So let's do that because they're all the same. So I'll put random rotation to 100%. And now you can see our pyramids are upside down. And they can even rotate on them. If I add random speed rotation, like 5, and they're spinning, so it may be too fast. Let's go for 2. Okay, and I like that, but I would like to add a few more effects with that. So I'll go to the fractal field. So the fractal field is going to create animation based on the fractal noise. And I'll be able here to use the displace. So the display is going to displace our sprite. So I increase the displace. Let's go to 150. And you see it's more spread out. So on second thought, I think I'll go back to the type here and change back to vertices and decrease the particle density. So let's go back. You see, that's interesting. It's like it's deformed. You can see the fractal fill happening. So let's put 0.5. Okay, that's interesting. In the fractal field, I will ask it to alter a little bit the size too. Maybe the opacity a lot, like 80. Okay, and now my fractal need to flow over time. So I will just put it a flow on X. And you can see here it's moving. So maybe let's go to 75. And all of those can react to audio, to an audio layer, to a music layer. That's really interesting. I'll go back to my type and maybe character and maybe reduce a little bit particle density again. We don't want to overflow our character. Yeah, like 0.1%, and I'll go back to the master form and decrease a little bit the number 0.05. Okay, so we have just a few stuff. Hit apply, and now we have everything on him. Okay, so that's pretty interesting because Element 3D is great, really great, but can't do that. That's what form is meant for, to add those kind of object of stuff on the character. Just scratch the surface. You could go much further with form. So that's interesting. Okay, let's add a background because it's a bit blend for now. So I'll create solid layer background, put it on the background, of course. And now I'd like to use a Region plugin, which is called the Fractal Fractal Background, which has very nice preset. So let's use it. Okay, it looks like that. I'm going to open the dashboard. So the dashboard, the Region dashboard looks like this. and will allow us to browse through all the different plugins you have. So those are the plugins, the Regent Universe plugin, and we have many utilities and Glow and so on. They are all really nice to use. And on my dashboard here, if I click here, choose preset, it's going to propose different preset of my fractal background. Okay, and I'm going to choose this one I like, apply preset. As you can see, we have something nice. So I'm going just to hide my this panel on my second screen, you can see. And we just do a few things on that. I'm going to change the angle. I think it's more in the reading direction like that, okay. And actually, this background is animated. It's a bit slow for now. So we're going to here change the animation speed and let's put it to 0.8. And you see we have some motion streaks. It's great to create a sense of speed. So I'll just blur a little bit the result. And now I'm going to add on top of that a very nice plugin. So let's go back here. It's in the glow section. This is the chromatic glow. So in the Regent plugins, you have several glow. They are all interesting. We have optical glow, which is not even featured here, but you have other glow, standard glow, glow-fi, edge glow, and this one is really nice. So let's apply it. And you can see already happening. So now I'm going to unsolo, and I would like on the fractal background to add a bit more brightness. Okay, and on the chromatic glow, just have a threshold lower. And we have this very colorful, maybe too much, but I like it. Very colorful background. And our character is running in the 80s fashion glory. So it's already, we're getting there. We're not there yet, but it's getting nice. Okay, so now I would like to add some particular. I want to add a kind of shadow or trails behind the character. So let's do that. I'm going to create a new solid again. We'll name it part for particular, and now I add particular. Okay, so particular as a form has its own designer we can use. So I'm not going to use it yet because I need to load the OBJ file and so on. So actually my OBJ file is there. You see, that's a running sequence OBJ. So we're going to, in the emitter, change emitter behavior from no, continuous, that's fine, but emitter type from point to OBJ model. Okay, and here in the OBJ emitter section, we're going to load the from OBJ system, which is exactly the same as the other one. So actually it's named, this is a from OBJ master, that's a number 5. So where am I? Yes, we're here. So this is a 5. Okay, and I'm going now to change the velocity to 0 so we can see our points. Then I'm going to add a lot of points. Let's say 500,000. Okay, and at the first frame, I will have all those frames. So you see at 0, because particular is going to create frames, going to create particle at each point, I need to advance 1 frame to see them. And we can see it's inverted. So let's correct that. And it's going to match. And now I'm going to change the size. and I remember, I think it's 125, almost. Okay, it looks like it's not exactly aligned because there is a slight variation because we're looking at that with one keyframe of we're late one keyframe because we're looking at the one. It's going to generate particle at this point, but we do have to correct a little bit the position anyway. So it's never going to match perfectly as form because the keyframes have always one keyframe. They're always one keyframe late. Okay, so that's close enough. And anyway, for what I want to do, that's good enough. Now I have placed my thing. I can try to work on that. So my particular now, we're going to use here the still 0 on velocity, but we'll have less particle, like maybe 5 times less. And they're going to drift because of our wind. The wind here is in physics, in the air. And then here we have the wind on X. If I'm going to increase our wind, my particles are going to drift off, as you can see. So I'll need to increase the wind. And you see it's going to take to create a kind of a ghost. I need to go to the emitter. So one other reason to favor the designer is it's easier to find your way inside. I can do it because I'm used to it, but if you're learning particular, it's pretty hard to use only those panels. So in the particle life, I'm going to put just 1 second of life for the particle, and I'm going to do something else, use on the opacity over life, and use a preset here, like that. Okay, now we're going to change the size, reduce it to 1.5, and maybe use the size random. And it's creating that kind of ghost trail. It's taking time to load. And I notice that the wind direction is not maybe the right one. I think it's more like Z. We need to put it. Let's try. Yes, that's Z. And we have that kind of ghost, you see? You can also see him moving. Okay, and this one, I can put it on the back of my character. It's running and leaving those trails behind. Okay, so those trails are still very static. So we'll use here in the physics mode, we have the turbulence field, and we have here turbulence field affect position. So let's go there. And it's going to alter the position. You see, it's going to create some chaos. I'm going to break the pattern and animate it. And now it looks like some kind of trail of much more natural, you see. And I guess maybe it's a bit too big. So we'll reduce here in the particle section. It's difficult on such a small screen. My work setup is 227-inch monitor, so it's easier to work than just one. Oh, no, not the life. I want to work on the particle size there. Okay, 1 centimeter. Okay, and now it's more subtle. So let's see. And maybe now we have too many particles. But that's nice. I like it. It's a bit too much. It's difficult to find the balance. But I'll just reduce the size, the diameter, particle seconds, and we'll say it's half that. Okay, and that's it. That's just a start because I couldn't do the right wrap. I showed it on the last session. So if you watch the two sessions, you will have different flavor of that. But as you go along, you can add many things. So at the end, you have something like that, which is still, I would say, a work in progress. So it's loading, taking its time. It's still a work in progress. You would have in 1 hour, we won't have a very good result. You have to spend more time on it, but that's nice already.
I'm amazed you managed to pack so much stuff in this hour anyway, Lionel. That's quite amazing, actually.
I rehearsed.
Yes, this is like working at 10 times speed, isn't it?
Yes.
So the a plus in English as opposed to your native French. So that's
Mhm.
that's very impressive. Would you mind just switching over to my
Yes.
screen and releasing it back
So
to me?
change presenter Simon. There you are.
Lovely. Okay. Because I just wanted to share again, in case you missed it at the beginning, we had a couple of questions about the recordings and were they available, and the recordings for different sessions as well. So yes, absolutely. These are all going to be, well, they're all available right now, actually. In the software interface for the webinar, there is a handouts section, and that has a link to download this PDF, which has all the links in it to the other webinars. And these links, as well as booking the webinar ahead of time, as soon as the webinar is delivered, these become links to the recording. So you can go through to that, click on that, and then you can watch the recording for all of these sessions. And also you'll get a link to the recording for this session automatically in an hour's time, which is the the shortest time we could do on the software interface, so that you'll get it automatically and you'll be able to watch this session. But you could go right now and click on any of these links in this document and then access the recordings right now. Or if you don't get it for some reason, or there is a technical mix-up, please let me know, simon@redgiant.com, and I will send you the links personally. I've also added the links that Lionel has been mentioning, things like Mixamo and Robite and so on, into the email that you'll get automatically as part of this session. So you can check out those things too. And if in case you missed it at the beginning, this is just a flavor of the sort of training we run for our volume program. So if you're in a team of people and you've got a number of licenses of, say, either the Red Giant or the Maxon tools, so that includes Redshift as well, please let us know if you'd like some complementary training for your team, because that's why we invited you to this, because of the merger of Red Giant and Maxon. And a couple of questions that came up on the earlier session were talking about the integration between things like Trapcode and Cinema. And that's something we're very excited about. We've got the engineering teams talking to each other about what sort of things we might put together. So there's no concrete details to let you know right now, but in answer to the question, yes, we are looking at how we might manage those things in the future and make some more efficiencies. But even now, you can do a whole bunch of things, as Lionel's just shown, to save time and also make your documents or make your graphics and your 3D elements kind of echo each other with the particle emitter using the OBJ sequence, as you've just seen. So I'm just checking to see if there's a couple of other questions. The question from Andres. And thanks for your nice comments. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, James. Thanks, Marius. Thanks, Seti. And thanks also, I recognize a bunch of these names that have been on multiple ones of the webinars, so we really appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks for spending this time with us. And thank you also, Darren and Jonas, for helping us out with the questions on all of these sessions. We really appreciate it. We're planning more of them, so look out for an email to be invited to more topics and more sessions like this. But the biggest thank goes to Lionel. Thank you so much for this week. It's just been wonderful to have access to your creative process, really, and how you go through problems and how you solve them, and the real world mechanisms of combining several different pieces of software. So thank you again, really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So great. So thank you all. Just looking at more nice words and comments that are coming through. So thanks again. Thanks, John. Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks, Andres. And yes, we'll see you on the next one of these. And if you've need anything in the meantime, just let us know, simon@redgiant.com, and I can put you in touch with resources that you may need and so on. But anyway, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next one of these. All right, take care. All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.